Is Hume Cement Industries Berhad the next multi-bagger on the Malaysian stock market? That's what we will investigate together in this video. Hi, I'm a French investor diving in the Asian stock market. If you like my content, please subscribe to the channel. Let's go for this analysis. Hume Cement, as you can infer from their name, they are working in the cement industry. It's a subsidiary of the Hong Leong conglomerate. On the website, we can see that they have a product line called Panda Cement. Let's dive into more information. Some key points here. So this company is a pure player of the cement industry. They have one cement factory in Gopeng, Perak in Malaysia. And they sold their concrete business in 2025 because it was losing money and they wanted to have better margins. And in this business, in the concrete business, they didn't manage to turn profitable. So they chose to focus on the cement business. So as I mentioned, it's a subsidiary of Hong Leong. This is a Malaysian conglomerate with a lot of diverse activities. The good thing with conglomerates is that it allows for cheap financing through shareholders' loans. Most of the time it's with no interest at all. The bad thing of being part of a conglomerate can be that the conglomerate, the main company, wants more dividends to finance other activities. In this case, I think they are prudent and they don't do too much dividends. They don't extract too much dividends from the subsidiary to finance other activities. So that's a good thing. This company has around 7 to 10% of the overall Malaysian cement market. They have a 5 million ton capacity, but currently it's only used at around 60 to 70% capacity because the market is a bit saturated. The management indicated that they want to focus more on be strict on the margins instead of trying to produce as much as possible to conquer market share. I think it's prudent what they are doing. In this market, there are some infrastructure projects and also private investment for real estate. So I think they will benefit from that. In the latest press release, the management indicated that they were cautiously optimistic for the future quarters. So I think we can be like the management, optimistic for the future growth. They have margins that are way above competitors. The main one in Malaysia is YTL, previously Lafarge, which is a French company, but it was sold in 2019, this business, because it was not profitable. Since 2019, the market is way more rational. There are less players and less competition. The margins are obtained thanks to operational efficiency, like energy consumption. They are, for example, doing process like sourcing waste and burning waste to produce electricity. That's a good thing. They also mention AI for supply management to source raw materials. It helped them get this done, this kind of process, in several hours instead of 3 to 4 days before. Let's investigate the figures for this company. The stock price over the last 10 years, it didn't do much. Around the same level at the beginning of the last 10 years, it's 2.8 Malaysian ringgit. Currently, it's 3.02. Okay, let's have a look at revenue growth. It's cyclical. The cement industry is pretty cyclical. Before 2022, 2023, there was no growth in this market. It was really saturated. And after that, there was big projects and they were able to grow a lot. So 53% in March 2023. It's impressive. Since 2024, the revenue growth is negative again, but that's because they choose to focus on margin instead of top line growth. I think it's not worrisome to have this level of growth. The good thing is they are able to generate operational profit, and we don't care if it's through increased revenue or if it's through increased margin. And in this case, we have a huge growth in margins. Gross profit margin was 32% in 2016. Now it's 45%. Good thing. The EBITDA margin, it was 20%. Currently, it's 54%. There is a bias here. Thanks to the sale of the concrete business, it boosted the EBITDA margin, but it's a one-off thing. So if we want to be more conservative for the margin, we can say that it's 33%, the current EBITDA margin. But frankly, the trajectory is impressive. Since 2019, where the EBITDA margin was negative, now it's almost at least 33%. That's impressive. Net income margin, again, there is the bias from the one-off sale, but it's around 40%. It's huge for a cement company. And even if we just exclude this one-off sale here, the net profit margin is around 20%. Really impressive. Free cash flow, are above net income. So this company is generating a lot of cash. Frankly, for a cement company, I've never seen this kind of margins. That's great. That's great. Let's have a look at net income conversion into free cash flow. Way more free cash flow than diluted net income. We have a negative net working capital. We can say that it's nil working capital, 0. And maybe in future quarters, we will see more negative net working capital. And I remind you that having a negative net working capital is really a great thing, because it means you have leverage through financing from your suppliers. That's great. It means you don't have to use cash to finance the operation. It's directly provided by your supplier. So impressive. Regarding investments, we can see that this company is not investing a lot since 2021. So it's expected. Why? We saw that the current factory utilization is around 60%, 70%. So you won't invest in additional capacities if there is no demand, and it's the case here. So until they reach 100% of capacity utilization, they don't have to invest in the fixed asset base. So it means that currently we are satisfied with the current level of fixed assets, and they are still investing a bit, but selectively and for projects to improve the operational efficiency and not to increase the capacity. So we have 222 million ringgit other non-cash items. You have to go to the cash flow statement to understand what's inside that. But with all these elements, it's crystal clear why we have more free cash flow than diluted net income. So if you want to value the equity of this company, it's better to use a price over free cash flow multiple than a price over earnings. Let's have a look at profitability. We saw that margins are impressive, so return on invested capital should be impressive as well. I remind you again that there is a one-off sale here, so this level is not sustainable, but even with this and excluding this level, we can see that the company is able to generate a 25% return on invested capital since 2024. For a cement company is really impressive, because this kind of business is really capital intensive. I remind you that on the ROIC ratio in the denominator, we have the fixed asset base plus the net working capital. Net working capital is negligible, but the fixed asset base is big because we have a huge factory. It's pretty capital intensive. So this company is creating really a lot of value for the shareholders because with 25% of return on invested capital, it's way above the cost of capital. For a cement factory, okay, we are in Malaysia. Maybe you can put 10% weighted average cost of capital. You have 25% of return on invested capital. It's clearly creating value for the shareholders. Let's have a look at net debt. We have a lot of cash. So before the sale of the cement, of the concrete business, they had 185 million ringgit in net cash. Impressive. It's a fortress of cash. This generates interest, of course, and this belongs to the shareholders, but maybe they should redistribute cash. They also both sites to provision raw material, so that's a good use of the cash. Let's see what they do with that. It's pretty dangerous to have a company with this level of cash if they are a poor capital allocator. So wait and see. The most conservative thing they could do could be paying a special dividend to the shareholders. Let's see what they do with this level of cash. At least the balance sheet is really rock solid, so that's a good thing. Let's have a look at shareholder returns. We have 367 million ringgit of free cash flow, all-time high. The dividend is 87 million ringgit, so it's well covered, around 4 times or 5 times even. We have some dilution, so this is not great, but it's pretty stable since 2024, and we had a small share buyback in 25. So I think they did this dilution. They increased the number of shares to finance themselves before being profitable. But now, since they are really profitable, there's no point in doing more new share creation. With that, we have a shareholder yield of 4%, and it's coming from the dividend. But I think it's fine. Having a 4% dividend with a really solid payout ratio between 25 and 30%. No worries, this dividend is really, really safe. Let's have a look at valuation now. We will use the EV over EBITDA multiple. The median value for this company is 16 times. It's a bit high, I would say, but currently it's around 2.9. Let's be conservative. If we take a 5-year period, the median EV over EBITDA multiple is 8.1 times. Currently at 2.9, maybe we have we can have 2.5 multiple to do for this company. So I think it's interesting. This company is really, really underrated by the market, but we saw that the results are impressive, at least in terms of margins and profitability with the return on invested capital. There is no growth, but it's not an issue. The company is able to generate a lot of cash. At some point, maybe they will return it with a special dividend or share buybacks. Maybe more dividends, I would say. In Malaysia, they are not fan of share buybacks, but I think there is a lot of potential for Hume Cement Industry Berhad. I hope you found this video useful. If it's the case, subscribe to the channel, and I see you in the next one. Bye bye.